All right, so I'm gonna break this video up into 3 parts. So what do I like about the Can Am X3? What do I not like about it? And should you buy one in 2023? All right, so the first part, price. This thing cannot be beat for the price. This one out the door, which it's almost fully equipped. The only thing is it's not the Smart Shocks model. It's the second from the top of the line model, the XRS. It was $32,000 out the door, right around there. I think just under $32,000 with taxes and setup fees and all that stuff. A Pro R is like 38, I want to say, for bare minimum, and fully equipped is like, I think, close to $55,000 out the door. Granted, you get a lot of things you can't get with the XRS, like the ride command and all that sort of thing. However, the performance cannot be beat for the price. This thing will hang with a Pro R all day. Power to weight ratio is basically the same, suspension numbers are basically the same, and they're really similar shocks. It handles great, it's fast, it does great. It's lacking a little bit for amenities, like I said, with ride command and heads up, or the like the screen and electronics and that sort of thing. But another thing, it's pretty well equipped stock. The stock harnesses, while I made the video about how they kind of suck, they're really good. They're better than most vehicles stock. And everything else, like the roof and all that stuff, it's great. Stock shocks are pretty damn good. And the next thing, power. This thing is so damn fast right out of the box. 200 horsepower, it's like 100 and, I don't know, 140, 150 at the wheels, I want to say. I think some dynos are showing like close to 160. That's really, really fast stock. All right, and one other thing that's a positive for this. These are late model vehicles. Obviously, they've been around since 2017. They've figured out a lot of the issues that were plaguing the early models. The weak chassis was a big thing. They addressed that. Like the double shear toe link they added. That's a big one on the trailing arm. Just a lot of things like that they've changed in later years. That's one really cool thing about getting a later model vehicle, is they've figured out a lot of these issues. Early Pro Rs, we're already hearing a lot of issues, and I think they've had some recalls on some of them, and they're gonna change things later on in 24, 25. Who knows? I'm sure they'll change things and find weak points later on. That's just how every vehicle ever progresses. So yeah, right now with X3s, they've figured out a lot of stuff. They've found all the weak points. The motor is great. Longevity of it, I mean, they don't really start braking until you add horsepower. All right, and the not so great things. Quality assurance. That's one thing that kind of is a little bit lacking on this. Kind of a minor detail, but there were a lot of bolts loose on this when I first picked it up. The left front shock and the right front shock, I believe, were completely different settings. One side was completely out, one side was completely in on the compression and rebound, both. That's not good. They should obviously all be the same, at least right and left especially. And on the note of suspension, spring quality. These things ride great. They're set up great. The valving is pretty damn good for 99% of applications. The spring rate is great. The material, Can Am, get it together. I don't understand why, I mean, all these companies, why they use such cheap materials on the springs. I get it why they do certain things like really soft tender springs to be able to meet certain criteria, rollover criteria and that sort of thing, like safety things. But my God, this thing has, I think, 500 miles on it. It's already lost an inch of ground clearance because the springs are sacking out. Why, on a brand new machine, do we need to immediately spend $800-900 on springs? If you're adding a bunch of weight to it, sure. If you are racing, obviously, or if you're hardcore desert or rock crawling or something like that where you got special applications, yeah, it makes sense. Like dirt bikes, if you're big weight swing or something like that, you need to change the springs. But these springs suck stock. Change it. Use good spring material. Contact Eibach, get your springs from them or any of these other spring manufacturers. Use good material. And another thing that kind of sucks about these is, I mean, it's kind of all side-by-sides, but doors. Why can't we have full doors stock? I don't get it. Yeah, to make these full doors, it was like $100 on Amazon or something. But like the Pro R and Turbo R have basically full doors. It's just some extra plastic. Like these doors there's nothing to them. It's just a little bit of steel framing and yeah, some plastic paneling. Give us full doors, man. We all put them on anyway. With how wide these are and how much roost these big 32-inch tires kick up, you need them. You don't want to take a stick to the knee or big rocks to the knee or something like that. It's not good. All right, the next thing. These batteries stock suck. We get a big 850 watt magneto. That's awesome. Big charging system. These batteries are freaking tiny. And one of the next things I'm gonna do is throw a big battery in this just to be safe. But yeah, these things are tiny. And on the electrical system note, access to power is definitely lacking. Or I guess ease of access to power. It's kind of a pain in the ass, and it's kind of janky to be able to run a bunch of stuff to the accessory post. And yeah, you can use Switch Pros and things like that, but I don't know. I feel like with power sports stuff like this, where it's almost a given that you're gonna add lights and things like that, that there should be easier access to power. I think power sports manufacturers all should add that. Yeah, it should be a lot easier to add wiring harnesses and things like that. All right, and the next thing that is a downside of these is, like I made the video, the harness pull angle. I'm only 5'9", 5'10", and it was the stock harness was pulling down on my spine. I know I said it's a good thing. The stock harnesses are a positive, but also that pull angle sucks. It sucks to go through whoops and have it cinch up and pull down on your shoulders. That's not safe. Yeah, it should be pulling straight back, so you're held into the seat, not held downward, because that's dangerous in a big crash. All right, and then the last thing I can think of, which is realistically not that big of a deal, these should come stock with rock knockers, or like the mud flaps in front of the wheels on the trailing arms. Turbo Rs and Pro Rs do, and the trailing arm gets sandblasted. That's not a big deal. But these things, they kick up big ass rocks, and you don't want to get a rock stuck in your rear wheel and have it rip the brake line out of your caliper, or or ding your rotor or something like that, because that happens in racing all the time. And if it happens in racing all the time, it's gonna happen on the trail. So that sucks. Just give us front mud flaps. The Pro Rs and Turbo Rs have it. It's not that hard. But again, that's kind of a small complaint here, because you can get them for, I don't know, $200 or something like that. But yeah, not that hard to add those. And kind of on that note, this one, not so much a complaint, because I definitely understand why, but 14-inch wheels with 32-inch tires kind of sucks. Sure, it's a good thing for rock crawling, but there's no clearance between the rim and especially the brake caliper and the trailing arm. So if you get a rock in there, it's gonna do some damage. I've seen it happen firsthand. That sucks. And yeah, that should be addressed. All right, and overall consensus, should you buy one of these in 2023 when you have alternatives like the Pro R and Turbo R specifically, and taking into consideration especially that Can Am's probably going to release a new model in 24, especially 25. and also with the speed UTVs maybe being out, hopefully soon. I think yes. I mean, I've had this for 6 months and put 500 miles on it, so I haven't had any issues with it yet, but these are great. These things are so badass. It's so fast. It's small enough to fit on trails and things like that. It's 72 inches. They're light. But overall, the performance to weight ratio is amazing. These things handle so damn good straight out of the box. Another reason why you should get one of these in 2023 or later, the used market is crazy. You can get parts used for so damn cheap, and every manufacturer has really, really, really good parts for these things, and you can make them badass. There's no vehicle you can take and race Baja in its stock. You can't do that with a Pro R or anything like that. You're still gonna have to put 5-10 grand in suspension upgrades and arms and all that stuff in it, but you can find that stuff for cheap for these damn things. It's awesome. You can find roll cages used or just discounted because everyone has these things. And on that note of everyone having these, when you're out in Glamis or some big riding area or something like that, if you break something, chances are you're going to be able to find parts for it pretty easily, whether it's somebody at the next camp over or some power sports shop in town, some dealership. Polaris stuff, RZRs, the new, like the Pro Rs and Turbo Rs, it's getting better to find parts, but these have been out for a while. There's a big stock of parts for basically everything, and people know them well. It's easy to fix them. They're simple, they're designed to be worked on, they're not overly complicated. Which, that gets into another note of, they're not overly complicated, which is kind of a downside. They don't have the electronics like the Pro Rs and Turbo Rs have, but it's simple. Keep it simple, stupid. These are badass. You can add navigation systems pretty damn easily. That's what's solid about these. It's simple. Not that much to go wrong on them. So anyway, overall consensus, they're still a great car in 2023. I highly recommend it. I didn't get a discount on this thing or anything like that. I have no special affinity to Can Am in general. This is my first BRP vehicle I've ever owned in any capacity. I've had RZRs. Yeah, these Can Ams are badass. I highly, highly, highly recommend them in 2023 and beyond. They're great, and I expect to have this thing for many years in the future. So yeah, highly recommend them.